I do hope that you are going to enjoy the training today. If each and every one of you come in and say, I left with something new, some new information, then I know I'm doing my job right. I hope that you won't say, well, this is just repetitive crap. I don't want that. I really do want you to leave with some tools. I want you to leave knowing some more about trauma. I've often found that when I give parent trainings or I give some type of training to other individuals aside from yourselves, I get people that come up to me and say, I just thought that was life. I had no idea that that was trauma and that it happened in my life. Today is not only about looking at trauma in kids, but it's also looking at your life. So today we will be exploring and taking a little, not a quiz, but an exam on yourself when you were a child. So we're going to actually try and kind of formulate your ACE score. ACE standing for Adverse Childhood Experiences. So with that said, I have to start with some statistics. Over 3 million reports are made of child abuse every year. The middle sentence is the one I want you to focus on, in that we lose 4 kids to child abuse every day. Every day. That's far too many. And if we look at Bexar County last year alone, we had 6,205 confirmed cases of child abuse in San Antonio, Bexar County. Okay? We rank number 1 in confirmed cases of child abuse, even though Harris County is bigger than us, where Houston is. Okay? We also, another number 1 that Texas is not very fond of, is that we rank number 1 in the state of Texas for confirmed child fatalities caused by child abuse. That's sad. It's a real issue that we have. So when we're talking about trauma today, now understand, trauma is many forms, but in the beginning I'm going to be focusing on child abuse so that we kind of see, because at ChildSafe, how many of you have heard of ChildSafe? Okay. We're San Antonio's local child advocacy center. Our mission statement is to restore dignity, trust, and hope to children who've been traumatized by abuse. This is a trauma, and so first focus I'm going to have is on child abuse. If you look here, you'll see we lost 19 kids to child abuse last year. That's 1 down from the year before. The year before we had 20. And so it is sad. People ask all the time, why do parents abuse? Well, when we look at it, we know 70% is because of substance abuse. 58% is because that child was crying, whether it be toilet training issues, feeding problems, or other kind of interruptions. Mental health issues, lack of education, and domestic violence. The last sentence I borrowed from my friend Dr. Nino with Center for Miracles in one of her presentations that she does. And it states that children in homes with an unrelated adult are 50 times more likely to die of abuse than children living with both parents. How many of you have heard the news several times over and over again where they say, mom's boyfriend, mom left the child with the boyfriend, boyfriend ended up... This is where this 50 times more likely plays into play. If an individual is not used to being around children and you leave them with a child for long periods of time, it's not saying it's a guarantee. It's never that. Okay? But you are putting them more susceptible to being abused. So we want you to be aware of that. When we look at today, you have to understand that we have to talk about the brain when we're talking about trauma. Our brain allows us to think, act, feel, speak, and love. I am not going to be a trainer who is going to tell you about the humadaba and the makuma hypakapa. That's not me. That's not who I am. I kind of keep it simple. And so when I keep it simple, I want you to understand this. And this is simple. The bottom part of your brain controls respiration, heart rate, and blood pressure. Why can't they just say that? The top part controls thinking and regulating of emotions. And from birth, it continues to grow. How many of you work with kids between 1 and 21? because I still consider most 21-year-olds kids. How many times have you gotten a kid, I can speak of my own too, and they got in trouble, and you go, why did you do that? What do they say? On video, when you rewatch this on a video, you're going to hear it loud and clear. You're right. I don't know. Not trying to make excuses for them, but we know that our brain does not fully develop until our late 20s. Right up here, thinking and regulating of emotions, right? But also right in here is where we rationalize everything. So Johnny took a cookie and he ate it. Mom comes up to Johnny and says, Johnny, did you eat that cookie? Yeah. Johnny, are you supposed to take cookies? No. But Johnny, did you know you could get in trouble for getting the cookie? Yeah. Then Johnny, why did you take that cookie? What's the answer? Oh, no. Brain's not fully developed. Therefore, reasoning, that reasoning part that says, okay, if I knew I was going to get in trouble, then why did I do it? Not developed. So I'm not trying to make excuses, but I did give you an aha moment on, oh, Clarissa, you're right. They just don't get it. How many times when we were younger did we look at our lives and we go, okay, I'm going to try this, and I hope my mom and dad don't find out. Because if they do, I'm going to get in serious trouble. But we did it anyway. But when we start getting into what? 30s, and we get into our 40s, I'm 43. Now, if you ask me to do something, I'll be like, no, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. It's developed. My brain is now developed, and therefore now we have an answer. Does that make sense? Okay, good. I need you to understand this part. We know that trauma in the brain, we know that from life, early on, we know that from when this baby is inside mother's womb, trauma can occur to this baby. If mom, how many of you have seen pregnant women who say, I'm going to put the headsets over the baby and play music? You may have done that yourself, right? Do you hear the music? What makes you think that a mother who's in a domestic violence situation and there's yelling and screaming, there might not be any pushing, but there's yelling and screaming, that that baby will not hear the same things? They hear the yelling. They hear the screaming. Therefore, trauma starts early on. If baby's daddy leaves mommy, I don't want to be a part of this, or she leaves him and has to go live back with her parents who she hasn't lived with for 4 or 5 years, could that be stress? And that baby can feel that stress. Once out of the womb, even babies that are born prematurely, do you think that's stress? Yes. And therefore, I want you to start understanding where stress and trauma come into play. And so we know that this is all could increase the risk of emotional, behavioral, academic, social, and physical problems throughout a child's life. Kind of got to go through some ages and stages real quick, okay? Ages and stages, what I'm talking about is we're only going to be focusing on the cognitive and emotional, okay? And you have this in your handout. The only thing you don't have in the handout are the videos, okay? But in looking at this, understand, from birth to 1 year of age, they're learning about alertness, right? In our cognitive stage, alertness, recognition, and interest to visual, auditory, tactile stimuli, right? Babies are taking their feet and they're looking at their fingers with amazement, the things they grab and hold on to, right? They make sounds like mama and dada, okay? They're learning, they're building. The ability to understand and produce language is from about 1 to 2 years of age, okay? Baby words, we're learning them. 2 to 3 years of age, language is used to communicate now with others, okay? The famous word, what? No. The other famous word, why? Right? Why? You need to do this. Why? Okay? So those are coming to play. With our emotional side, though, when we're looking at birth to one, there's that trust being made, right, with certain caregivers, right? Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, right? And as they continue to grow, 1 to 2, they're forming trusting relationships with other family members and family members outside of the family, right? Close friends. They begin exploring. How many times do we see kids that say, oh, it's okay, go play, and they go, and then they turn right back. And you're there going, it's okay, you can go. So they walk a little bit more, and they're like, and you're like, I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. They're learning, okay? They're learning to build this, and once they get to 2 to 3, now autonomy is solidified, okay? They're brave little ones, aren't they, around this age, right? I can do it, kind of thing. They're learning to try to crawl on a table or, pick up on things. There's experiences of pride and pleasure, of being good, and the embarrassment of being told you did something bad, right? They don't like that at this age. And so understand that's where we are. Preschool, when we look at it, thinking is now concrete, and they take things literally. So if we're talking to a toddler, a preschooler, and we say the sky is falling, they're going to be going. And then they're going to go, yeah. Or if we say it's raining cats and dogs, they're going to be like, no, it's not. And so these are things that they're really, I'll never forget when my son was younger. And I said, Marcus, you're killing me. He'd go, really, Mama? And I was like, and I had to stop myself. I'm like, no, baby, no. And I was like, not really. And he's like, oh. And so they have a limited understanding of cause and effects and sequencing, but they have a vivid imagination, don't they? Right? They ask why. They want to know answers to questions. They're sponges. They're still complete sponges. Emotionally, they're beginning of impulse control. I'm going to do it. Okay? Remember, reasoning's not fully developed, so it's going to keep going. Self-esteem is largely dependent upon others' people's reaction to them. Okay? Later on, we're going to see a picture from Dr. Bruce Perry of the Child Trauma Academy of a neglected child. And if you think words don't matter, words do matter. And so understand when we're talking about building a child's self-esteem, it's very crucial that we pay attention to our words, to our actions, regardless if it's early on in a child's life or later on in a child's life. Words matter. And so school age, thinking becomes more logical and rational. They understand the ramifications of their acts. They understand it. Remember, reasoning's not developed. So, did you know you were going to get in trouble? Yeah. Why'd you do it? I don't know. It's still the same thing, okay? They develop the ability to understand others' perspectives. My son is now 3rd grade. My daughter's in 2nd. And it's day in and day out that I hear, well, Bella said. Well, Lisa said. Well, Johnny says. And so it's like, okay, I respect what your friends are telling you, but let's compare, okay? And so as we're getting older, what? The parents are beginning to not be the persons they're turning to, but eventually it will be that their peers are important and their peers' opinions are important in their lives. So they're developing a better sense of themselves as individuals, and they're evaluating their self-worth by their ability to perform. Okay? Did you see what I did? Did you like it? Mama, look what I drew today. Dad, check this out. Look what I did. Watch me do this. It's whatever they want to get that kind of fulfillment. So as we keep looking at our tweens and teens, God bless their souls right now, right? I'm about to sound like my mother. Life was different when I was a tween and teen. I didn't have to worry about Facebook, cell phones, not really a lot about the internet. And so they have a lot of things that they're dealing with. Bullying was around, but there was never cyberbullying. And so huge issues, huge problems. But they're starting to begin and to think hypothetically and to see different points of view. And that's a good thing. We want them to broaden themselves and to learn. During their middle and late adolescence, the ability to see multiple perspectives is refined. And like I said earlier, here's about the point where it's like, you know, mom and dad, you're not, what you think isn't always right, and yeah, I know more kind of stage. We were all there back when we were tweens and teens. They depend upon their peers for emotional stability, support, and to help mold their emerging identities, who they are and who they're going to become. This is a part where it's now starting to form. Okay? They kind of know what group they're going to want to be with. We can remember back in high school the groups that we were in. Okay? Self-esteem is greatly affected by acceptance of peers. Early adolescents are, I kept it simple, moody, dramatic. They're very vulnerable to emotional stress. Sometimes as we grow up, and I'm guilty of it too, you forget that the stress of being in school and homework and making new friends and all that was stress. And sometimes we're like, you know, we got to worry about paying bills and working and keeping food on the table. But sometimes we do forget that kids have stress. It's real. What they see day in and day out, what may be happening to them or what they may be doing to others. And so those are things that we need to pay attention to. Middle and late adolescence, identity is more individualized. And there is a sense of self develops and it stabilizes. This is pretty much who they learn. This is me, okay? And so it's very important to see how they're growing